Hi, Jamie here. It's been so long since I made a video. I always say that I never forget about the channel, and I really don't, but I think it's been about 6 months since I made a video. There's just been so much going on. I won't go on and on about that. To be honest, it was the holidays and sicknesses, and I started working again, which is great, but a big adjustment. I haven't worked for probably about 10 years, to be honest. So, and sicknesses and holidays and everything, it's just been crazy. So I just wanted to check in today and share a few things that have happened recently in terms of lucid dreaming and dreaming that I thought you would find interesting. I hope that you all are doing well. So the first thing I wanted to share was I have had how I use my dreams to figure out that I was lactose intolerant and to what extent. I think it was probably in my early 20s that I remember lots of dreams about cheese. I remember specifically a dream about a nuclear explosion and nuclear war about cheese. Instead of throwing bombs, people were throwing cheese. And at the time, I hadn't met Michael Sheridan yet, so I had no idea what those meant. It's so obvious now to me, but at the time I was just completely baffled. And so, yeah, so that's kind of the backdrop to recently I started getting really sick, like really sick every day. And I couldn't really make heads or tails of it. I had been on a lot of antibiotics for my bacterial problem, which is another story. My psoriasis was creeping back and the bacteria was creeping in. So I had done a whole stint of antibiotics, like I'm talking about like 2 months of antibiotics, like 60 days of antibiotics of penicillin. So the bacteria was down, but here I was getting sick, and I thought, well, maybe it's just because my digestion's a mess. So anyways, I dreamt that I was I was driving a semi truck in a mall, and I was driving up a ramp and then kind of around another ramp down and then up a ramp trying to get the exit. Very intestines kind of situation. And the floor was was white and smooth. And so it was like slippery, and I couldn't really, like, I was really trying to struggle getting it down and trying to keep it in the lane in the mall. And somebody came up to me and said, "Do you want me to drive?" And I said, "No, I think I'm okay. I'm going to handle it." Finally got the semi out of the mall, and at the end, like, we're outside, and this woman came up to me and was like, "Here, drink some water." And I was like, "I was drinking water that whole time." She's like, "No, no, after that, you drink water." And so that was very clear. I came out, and it's so funny. After so many years of studying Michael Sheridan's process, I still couldn't get the white down with the milk until later. And it's so very much about dairy and my digestion system going too fast because of the dairy, and how after I have like an episode or something, I need to drink a lot of water. So that was very interesting. I did put two and two together finally, which was great. And so I just sort of thought, okay, I need to start eliminating dairy. And I did, and I wasn't sick anymore. And it was wonderful. I feel so much better now since I've eliminated dairy. And then I started looking into, I have such a thing with coffee creamer. I want cream in my coffee. I want that half and half. I want that creaminess. And so I started doing like almond milk and like oat milk, and those are all like complete trash in my opinion. They don't make the coffee creamy at all. And I just was really struggling, and I started kind of having like some nausea still. I was still nauseous. So I had another dream where I was in line, and a line can mean like your digestion system too is kind of backed up. And I had already eliminated dairy. And I see the line behind me, and in front of me is a woman who is ordering black coffee. She's like, "I just want black coffee." And I go up and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Well, I need some alternative milk." And so they rush off and whatever. And then when I came out of the dream, I realized that in front of me was I needed to drink black coffee. I needed to eliminate everything that's going in my coffee. And so that is a huge struggle. But I did it. And for the better part of a week, it really sucked. But I like it now. I like drinking black coffee. And I am officially like not nauseous, not sick ever. And my digestion is great. So that is that story. And I just thought it was so interesting how the woman in front of me is like kind of like what I need to be thinking about for my future. Black coffee. The digestion system, the digestive problems are behind me. So again, huge plug for Michael Sheridan. I always leave his information at the bottom. priceless information. I mean, I don't think I would have put that together as quickly. I would have really kept putting something in my coffee, which my dreams clearly said is not good for me. Just, you need to stick to black coffee. And it's interesting, I actually enjoy black coffee now. I never thought I would, but I do. It feels like a real stimulant now in the morning instead of something that might be weighing me down. So I hope that makes sense, and I just wanted to share that with you. The other thing I wanted to talk about was just a recent lucid experience that I had where I called on my higher self. And I've been noticing lately when I get lucid, I have this moment where I'm in between and I think of something else. And it's usually very spontaneous. I never really mean to think about this thing. It just sort of enters into the scape. And I find it interesting. It usually navigates. I know the karma dream was that way, where I sort of thought about karma and it wasn't really something that I intended to do. So in this time I called on my higher self, and what came in was another person that I follow online is Jeremy Garner, and I'm fortunate to have talked to him through email a couple of times, just asking questions. And he mentioned once about how there's schools of information, schools of instruction that people can be a part of. And I just thought that was so fascinating. So that came in when I was thinking about talking to my higher self. And I thought about this schools of instruction. So off I go. And what happened when I got lucid was I asked to be on my higher self, and then I started moving at a very fast rate of speed, really, really fast, up into the sky. I just let go and let the force just take me wherever it wanted to. And I really did brace myself for the realness of what was going to happen. And what happened was there was a woman and she was like, "Welcome." And I said, "Okay." And now I've got this school of instruction in my mind, and she takes me to a classroom. And in this classroom, there's like a sign-in sheet. I sign in, it's kind of tight. I sit down, and on the screen they're showing like images of like another Earth. The planet looks like Earth. I even saw like the shape of the United States, but I mean, it was like just the shape of that body of land. And so I'm kind of like taking notes, but in my head I'm lucid, so I'm like talking to her a lot about stuff, but like also listening to the class. And I'm realizing all of a sudden there's no way that I'm going to keep this information in my head. So I tell her I really need to move forward with my lucid experiences and talking to guides and entities and anybody. It's been years coming that we need to start talking in symbols. We need to start talking in experience and pictures, because the words are just I cannot remember them when I get back. And she's like, "Okay, we can do that for sure. Just keep thinking about that and remind me." I'm like, "Okay, that's great." And so, but then I continue with the class, and I learned that this planet that they're teaching us about is another Earth, but it's called Wagunda. Just sharing these things in case somebody else has these experiences. And there's a region that we're looking at called Nairobi. And I learned a whole lot more, but the reason why I could remember those two things is because of what Wagunda reminded me of Wakanda, and Nairobi reminded me of Nairobi. So I made those references at the time, and so then I was able to bring back that information. I asked how many of these Earth-like planets there were, and she was very clear that there's over 150 and growing, which I thought was interesting. So this has become a real pattern. It goes off from there. This is now what happens when I get lucid. I end up getting taught about these different places. I have no idea really what that means. I mean, maybe I should just take it at face value. These are interesting other places. I've been taken to other places and shown, the different ways they do that. I've made a number of videos about that. So anyways, but my lesson for this one to kind of give to you is the importance of words, because I really believe that the reason why I went to a classroom setting is because I was thinking of this idea of schools of instruction and the word school. And I just really think if I had phrased it perhaps differently, I might have done something different with it. So I hope that makes sense. Using the word school, I think, brought me to a classroom, clearly. Whereas I was thinking more of like this kind of higher level, kind of experiential learning, I'm hoping, and certainly something that I'll be doing in the future for sure. The other thing is just that idea of, and I'm going to keep you posted on moving forward with this idea of being shown symbols and stuff. I'm really going to program my subconscious to no longer have these long dialogues with people. I really believe, and I end up having these long dialogues with people. And I really end up, I believe, I come back subconsciously getting some of that information, to be honest with you. But I really want it consciously. So, so that said, I'm interested in sharing in the future how that goes with that as well. So I don't want this video to be too long. I just wanted to check in with those two experiences. I hope that you're doing well. As always, I put Michael Sheridan, and today I will also be putting Jeremy Garner's information at the bottom, because another thing that I'm working on right now is I'm working through his book Guide to Faerieland, which is this like giant, thick process book about being basically training yourself to be clairvoyant, like getting into that beginning initial state. It's so much more than that, and I've had 4 or 5 incredible experiences with his work, to be honest with you. I'm still working on it and cracking that open in me. But it's been really remarkable and fun. It's been fun too to have that kind of work as well going on. So I hope that reaches you well. I hope that you're all doing well. And as always, thank you so much for listening and for following the channel. And please feel free to message me or comment anytime. I love to hear from everyone. I don't have a whole lot of people in my circle, my surrounding social circle, that are into this at all. I remember I mentioned something about dreams to one friend once, and she was like, she kind of almost stepped away, like started backing up and was like, well, I'm not really that, I mean, even just dreams. So that's the level I'm at. So I would love to talk to anyone. So anyways, have a good day. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.